It's a great morning. Thank you, everyone, for joining us here on Global Television. We are in Abuja, Nigeria's capital. As always, it's a delight to have you join us here on Global Morning. I am Uyi Agbomofwebe.
And I am Jumai Manson. It's great to be here. It's a beautiful Thursday morning, right, Uyi?
Yeah, it is.
We're winding down.
It's interesting to know that we're last here together on Monday, and 2 days have lapsed in between. Today being Thursday, so
Exactly.
we stay grateful.
We stay grateful.
Right.
That is the most important thing. They say when there is life, there is hope. So don't ever give up. It doesn't matter what circumstances you might be going through, but all the same, you're alive, you're breathing. There are so many people that want to be in this same boat, the same shoes, but they can't. But at the same time, giving thanks is key.
It is. And when you say giving thanks, most times people think it's because of some spectacular experiences that you've had or some very amazing things that have happened to you. You may not even be in the best place in certain areas of your life. Maybe you just lost your job. You know, your house rent is long overdue. Your car has broken down for a while. Tuition is on your neck and things like that. Maybe you're even having a marital crisis, and then Jumai Manson is here telling you to stay grateful. It doesn't seem to make sense, but in all, what it means is that we can still be grateful in all of this, because it is very clear that you have not lost it all. You still have your mind in place. You still can think. You still have friends. You have family who do care about you. You have people who still call in every once in a while to check up on you.
Very true.
All right. They want to know how you're doing and all of that. So in the end, it means there must be one thing we can always be grateful for, and it's for the gift of life.
And then at the same time, life is so people say adulthood is a scam. People say that. But at the same time, there's something we need to all remember, that at the past, there are so many blessings that you can count. So you can still always stay grateful for those other blessings that came along your way and all of that. So don't just judge what is happening now and say things are not working out the way it ought to. And okay, let me give up. Still be thankful and still be grateful. It's very important. Once you show gratitude, you get more.
Yeah, right. They say gratitude is the best attitude.
Yes,
my mom used to quote that a lot when we were growing up. And really, it stays true till today, because in the final analysis, the fact of the matter is, you realize that there were other times before now, like Jumai said, where you were in a very bad place as well. In fact, you were in between a rock and a hard place.
Yes.
Of course, they are both the same. But then you survived, you surmounted those obstacles.
Exactly.
You know, you survived the headwinds, as they say. And today, all of that is behind you. So it's just for you to also believe that whatever you're dealing with today will become history in no distant time.
Very true. You well said.
Many things are becoming history in Nigeria right now, including the allowance of youth corpers in this country. You know, I remember one time when youth corpers were receiving 19,000, I think. And
18?
a lot of people were complaining. Some were happy, of course, because for many people, they had never earned money, you know, until that time in their lives. And later I got jacked up to 33,000.
Good times.
Before that was 30. But today we're hearing that it has now been reviewed upward. It is now 77,000. That's what youth corpers will be paid. Of course, that's been duly approved by the relevant agency of the federal government. I'm very sure many corpers across this country right now will have reason to be excited. Even for those who are prospective, you're just waiting to be called up for service, to be mobilized, you know, and things like that. So I think it's the first experience many people have in terms of coming into the labor market, as it were.
Very true.
They get to understand what it means for your life to be structured in a way beyond the four walls of the university.
Very true.
You know what it means for you to earn something every 30 days, and you're earning these legitimately. You're serving your country. I mean, something that gives you pride.
You're working.
Exactly.
Like that word, working.
Yes.
Something
you're adding value one way or another. You're making a difference.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. You know, it's like a reawakening when you see that, like you're working. Like seriously, it's not all about, okay, mommy, daddy, send me this money, I need to buy this. You're actually working. You're in an establishment. You are waking up in the morning. It's just like lectures. When you wake up early, there's some lecturers that tell you 6:30 be there. I don't know if you had that experience. I had that.
Well, mine was even a little worse than that, because the lecturer, we had like two of them, but there's a particular one that was fixed his lecture in such a way that it wasn't so much about that was convenient for you, which for me was very understandable. Because if he at his level, I mean, this was an associate professor, could schedule a lecture that was not even convenient for him as well, because he didn't live within the campus. So why should a young person who had been sent to school by their parents complain? But again, if you miss his lecture, it's as if your purpose of coming to school in the first instance was defeated. So you just have to be there.
Exactly.
For your own good.
I know some that if you miss that lecture, you're going to get a spillover. It doesn't matter. It takes, if he's in a good mood and he gives you a makeup or whatever. But the truth is...
Or let my people go.
Let my people go. But at the same time, it's a reawakening for some individuals, prospective coppers and all of that. Because you get to see what it is to take instructions, now direct instructions from bosses. There's some things that you are tired of doing, but you just have to do it and all of that. So it's a reawakening. It's an first-hand experience, like you mentioned. So I guess, well, congratulations to the ones that collected 77,000. But some past couples will tell you, but during my time, I didn't collect up to this.
But there are also people before your time who didn't collect up to that. So life evolves.
Exactly.
And changes happen.
It does. And they say the only constant thing in life is change.
Right.
And I'm just glad that things are stepping up and there are lots of improvement. These efforts that we do not see. Like this, there are people who have parents, and some couples will actually give their parents out of this money. Okay, this is the first salary I've ever.
No matter how small.
It's very important. But most kids forget that. But you should always remember where you're coming from. And you know, this is something big for some. And hopefully, when they come into the market proper, they'll earn much more by God's grace.
Right. And just to be clear, you may say 77,000 is small money. So if I give my parents from it, what is left? It's not so much about the monetary value. It is symbolic.
Yes.
Adds to that the fact that we are African. So when you do that, actually what you're doing is you're reminding your parents how much of a blessing they've been to you.
Exactly.
These last couple of years in particular that you've been in school. They've had to scratch their skin to see you through school.
Exactly.
All right. And now it's your turn to begin to show them that you are a bundle of blessing.
You are.
To them as well. Besides, while you're in that khaki, your life has just started in a sense.
Yes, it has.
Because it's one phase of your life that has been rolled away, another phase has just opened up. So all you have to do is to make the best of it.
Yes,
right?
Exactly. Yeah, like you said, it's symbolic. You see, that prayers, it goes a long way. We'll talk about that maybe during the weekend or something.
Course.
All right, now up next, let's just quickly go on a very quick break, and Global Morning continues shortly. Stay tuned.
Morning is your ultimate destination for engaging political and economic matters. I am Uyi Agmofwebe.
And don't forget to include social discussions. Tune in every weekdays from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. I am Queen Agaba.
For insightful breakfast ideas, business summaries, sports highlights, international and local news perspective, I am Anthony Momodu.
Don't miss the in-depth analysis of current and political issues by the Global Morning team and experts. I am Jumai Manson.
Catch Global Morning here on Global Television. Getting on the action. I am Edikan Michael.
We are
The Global Morning Team.
Thank you for staying with us, everyone. Shortly, we'll be bringing you the big headlines from across our national dailies today. But up front, we also have the papers. I mean, we have the news, that's the Global AM News for you. So many things are happening across the country right now. The issue of Bobrisky has also been in the news. Allegations of bribing some officers within the ranks of the Nigerian Correctional Service. Senior lawyer Femi Falana has been dragged into all of that. Of course, the Minister of Interior, under whose purview you have the Nigeria Correctional Service, has ordered a thorough probe of all of these allegations and much more, even though the minister did not specifically mention any case. But again, it's very clear where all of this is heading. But more importantly, the president, we understand, is now hinting at reshuffling his cabinet. And Bayo Onanuga, who happens to be special advisor on information and strategy, more like playing the role of former SA Media and Publicity, Ajirin Galadi now, is saying to Nigerians, of course he addressed the press about this, to say the president will definitely, that's the operative word, reshuffle his cabinet. However, when he was asked by one of the reporters if it was something that would happen before independence, I mean, that's October 1st, he said he wasn't sure of that. The president didn't give timeline. However, it is something that will happen. But we do know for a fact now that the president has asked 46 ministers to submit fresh scorecard. Recall, Joe, that as part of the one-year anniversary of the Tinubu government, there had been a review of performance of the government, ministry by ministry, and all of that. But the president has now, we understand, formally requested a scorecard of all of these
Which is
ministries.
important.
Exactly, because if you look at it quite frankly, I mean, we work in the private sector, for example. We also do performance review.
Yes, we do.
All right, you have KPIs, key performance indicators, that you have to use in determining who is performing and who isn't performing, and even for those performing, to what extent, all right, vis-a-vis the standards, the benchmarks that have been set for them. So that's obviously what President Bola Tinubu is also doing, because we realize that in the end, it's not enough to just say you're a minister, whether you're the senior minister or the junior minister. Yes, exactly. Why did we appoint you? What have you done in light of that so far? I mean, this is more than 1 year down the line. I think that's exactly where we are right now.
And then, he mentioned, just to add a little bit, he said, do not be shy of the press. He told them to actually come out and say. Because
we are doing a lot, but you are not talking about it.
You are not talking about it. And it's not all, like you said, it's not all about being a minister. You have to tell us your accomplishments.
Right.
It's very important. The things that you have done, empowerment, if it's giving palliatives or whatever you have done, just come out and say it, because these scorecards are going to be based on performance. And if you are not performing, I don't think you have any business being a part of the cabinet.
Of course.
Because as Nigerians, as a Nigerian, we want to see a lot of impact. It's very important. And like he said, a lot of things are being done, but it's not said, or we are not in the know. So I think it's a step in the right direction. Let us see. If you're not working, you have no business being a minister. And if you're working, don't keep quiet about it. Tell us what you have done, so we can actually score you based on what you've given us.
I spoke with a civil society person just a few months ago in the course of this scorecard issue that we're talking about the other time. I mean, he happens to also be legislative policy analyst, and he told me, he said, look, that he had attended some of the sessions where these ministers were doing presentation of their scorecards, that he wasn't impressed with a good number of the ministers. And I also talked to other regular everyday Nigerians who happened to have been there, and they said they were also not very impressed with what some of these ministers had done. But when you look at the news that we have, I mean, the information we have at our disposal as journalists, I mean, these things are not rocket science.
No,
it is very clear to know which minister is working, which ministry is adding value, making the difference, and contributing to the renewed hope agenda of President Bola Tinubu without biases on sentiments of any kind. Because this is about Nigeria and Nigerians. So if a minister is working, if a ministry is working, it's not difficult to know. We may not have all the data, but we can see in ways that are substantial and significant, and tangible what some of these ministries are doing. But again, we can't forget so quickly. So we cycle back to when sometime last year, September, the federal government, again under the leadership of President Bola Tinubu, organized retreats for these ministers and other aides. And one of the things that he talked about at that time was the president saying that we are going to, from time to time, do a review of performances of ministers and their ministries, including other aides who are not necessarily ministers. And he said, when we find out that you are performing below par. In other words, your performance is not at equilibrium with the standards or the benchmarks that we have set. In his words, you will leave us. I like how the president puts it very diplomatically.
Exactly.
He didn't say we'll fire you, we'll lay you off, we'll relieve you of your duties. He says you leave us. All right, that sort of thing. So it's very clear, and there's nothing wrong with that. And the president also took a step by appointing former managing director of the Nigerian Ports Authority, NPA, talking about Adiza Bala Usman, to say, look, lead a kind of organization, kind of system where you are helping us to provide insights into who is providing, who is performing and who isn't performing. And we're very sure very soon we'll be seeing reports in that direction.
And definitely, and let's not be surprised that we will get reports of people, of ministers who are not performing at all. It's very important that we put that in at the back of our head. There are some that are going all out to perform, to make a difference, exactly, to add value to the Renewed Hope agenda, like you mentioned. But there are some who just sit back and just wait for all of these things, and their ministries are just quiet, not doing anything. As a minister, being there, you are the spearhead. You should make a difference, make an impact. It doesn't matter if nothing is happening. You make something happen. That is why you have been appointed, and you get paid for these services. You're a public servant, so do the needful is very important. That is why I am very keen on seeing the scorecard. Really, I really need to know. Like I said, I will not be shocked if some ministers come out and there is nothing to write home about, or nothing that they have achieved or done. And some now, this is the time that you see them running around trying to make a difference, but really,
because the president has said, I want to see a scorecard.
It's not all about that. We should have a conscience. It's very, immediately you are appointed. Okay, I understand. You take 1 week, understand the grounds, know what your predecessor has done before you came into power and all of that. You would have started since. For some that will start now, we'll definitely get the scorecard. The dates will be there. Hope we have a right and accurate data that will actually show all of these things. But will I be surprised? I don't think so.
All right, so we understand we should go on a break quickly and bring you a newspaper. Of course, as you can imagine already, the papers are loaded with big headlines for you this morning. Juma and I will take a look at that shortly after this break.
Global Morning is your ultimate destination for engaging political and economic matters. I am Uyi Agmofrebe.
And don't forget to include social discussions. Tune in every weekdays from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. I am Queen Agaba.
For insightful breakfast ideas, business summaries, sports highlights, international and local news perspective, I am Anthony Momodu.
Don't miss the in-depth analysis of current and political issues by the Global Morning team and experts. I am Jumai Manson.
Catch Global Morning here on Global Television. Getting on the action. I am Edikan Michael.
We are
The Global Morning team.
You're welcome back, and it's Global Morning on Global Television. And like we mentioned, it's newspaper review, and we'll be starting with the first paper of the day, and it's the Daily Times. And I'll be taking us through the Daily Times, and above the nameplate of the Daily Times, it says here, court restrains PDP governors, NWC, BOT, others from dissolving pro-Wike PDP ESCO in Rivers. And you can find that on page 6 of the Daily Times. And still above the nameplate, it says, I won't tolerate corrupt judicial officers, frivolous ex parte orders, acting CJN. And the writer there says, Presidency, federal government won't interfere in NNPCL Dangote gas line price battle. And still on page 6 there on the Daily Times. And here it says, abandoned project, ICPC returns over 500 contractors to site. And you can still find that on page 6 of the Daily Times. Now below the nameplate, it says, and the star story there says, Africa's role as raw material suppliers certifying its misery. And that's Tinubu. And the writer there says extracting raw materials without processing locally deepens continent's underdevelopment. And below all of that, it says, ASU gives 14-day ultimatum to federal government over unresolved issues. And the writer says it shouldn't be held responsible for any industrial action that might result from governor's failure to meet new deadline. And below the feed of the Daily Times, it says FG increases core members' allowance to 77,000, and we and I spoke about it in the course of the program. So basically, kudos to those that will be, although at the same time, for couples who are coming all the way from a very far distance to their place of primary assignments and all of that, it might not be much because of the fuel's price and all of that. But at the same time, just be grateful and know that with time things will get better. Hopefully they get some, aside their alawi, which is called, hopefully the organizations in which they work for will give them some
PPAs, right?
Exactly, very important.
Right.
And basically that is it on the Daily Times. Please go out and get a copy of the Daily Times for more information on these stories making round. And next is the Daily Trust.
Right, it is. Let's take a look at the Daily Trust quickly. We'll begin with stories just immediately below the nameplate of the paper today. First one here says, why Tinubu can't intervene in Dangote NNPCL fuel price field. That's presidency they're talking. Why Tinubu can't intervene in Dangote NNPCL fuel price field. Presidency coming from the Daily Trust newspaper this morning. Then the next one, it says MSMEs can't survive on current interest rates. Fidelity Bank MD interest rate right now is doing 27.5%, and now Bank MD says that MSMEs, that's medium, small, micro, medium, small enterprises, cannot survive on this kind of interest rates. Okay. What's more, CoCares Gombe empowers 573,429 farmers, entrepreneurs, vulnerable people, with a picture of the governor in Wayaya right there. Let's see the big story for you. Hardship, civil servants go to work twice a week. Even feeding is difficult. Those are riders for you. Only Lagos, Ogun, Osun approve of days. We pretend we don't know what's happening, Director. It will lead to low productivity. Analysts, you see, this is between the devil and the WC, right? Because on the one hand, you're dealing with the issue of economic hardship, which of course is impacting virtually all civil servants. All right, and so you say, let's make it easier for everybody. Come to work twice a week in some states. In other states, they say come to work twice a week. So Lagos, Ogun, and Osun have made this move. One time, Edo State had also done that. That was just like when the fuel subsidy issue started biting initially, but we understand they're back to status quo now. However, analysts are now saying that this will lead to low productivity, or in some cases, no productivity at all. But they say you can't have your cake and eat it. Right? Yes. So it's a tough call. It's a very hard decision to make, but somebody has got to make that call.
Somebody has got to, but really at the same time, it will lead to very low productivity. It's 5 times in a week work for some. We know we do not have our off days 7 times in a week. But at the same time, what you can accomplish in the 3 days that you're off work is a lot.
It's a lot, right?
And for you to just resume twice in a week, it's really going to lead
So
to...
what do you do the other 3 days of the week?
Exactly. Do you work from home? It depends. Do you work, but it's not as when
Effective.
Yes, exactly. That's the word. It's not as effective as when you are in the workplace, because
Right.
you can move around, you have documents, and online, how strong is your data? I need to get this across. It's going to take a long time. But
Are you available if someone were to ask for a particular item
at that time,
within a few minutes?
exactly. And some of these things we all know are in the office. It depends. Well, it's really going to lead to low productivity,
Right.
rightly said by the analysts. And at the same time, I think we have to work around it. Really, it's 5 times in a week. Well, Kaduna, it's 4 times in a week. Fridays is like a holiday. You do not work.
Now
You should
that's
work.
almost like a standard.
It's a standard. I have people. I have family and
Even
friends.
before the fuel scarcity issue.
Even before the fuel scarcity, yes, but at the same time, that's understandable. It's a Friday. Nothing much happens on the Friday. If you go to organizations, you do not see so many people, because in quotes and unquote, it's half day. People say that, which is...
Some leave the office as early as 12.
Yeah, 12, yes, 12. And someone, it depends. But at the same time, I think we need to find a way around the fuel situation.
Right.
That is just the cause, and that's just the problem. Once we have that, and I think it will go a long way. And then the fact that the president is not going to interfere with Dangote Refining and the NNPCL, I think it's giving me cause to worry, because I think he has the say there when it comes to talking to these mega houses on
Right.
what to do and the way forward. It's just unfortunate that he doesn't want to interfere, but you have to go out and get the Daily Trust for you to be more informed why he doesn't want to interfere
right.
with this issue.
Just to add to that, Jumai, talking about people working from home, I was talking with a younger colleague the other day. I said, when people say work from home, we think it's fun. It's a kind of a novel idea, right? It's fashionable to say, but you see, you even need more discipline, especially if you're a professional, to work from home
Very true.
than to work in the office or
Very
work
true.
on site, as they say. Let's be clear, there's a bit of history to this work from home idea. It started with the COVID-19.
Yes,
when
it
people
did.
realized that you couldn't go to work, you had to social distance, you had to space out. Of course, we couldn't afford to have crowds and people clustering in the office and all of that. Yet we had to do the work. And we said, let's work from home. Let's still do as much as we can under those circumstances.
Yes.
So we started working from home. And then coming out of the COVID-19, it became more of hybrid for many people. So you you just combine working from home with working on site, which is working from your house and working in the office.
Yes.
All right. But you see, people had to learn to build the discipline of working from home. I'll give you an example.
Very important.
It is clear that there are rules you can't do from home. That's very clear. For example, we can't be doing this presentation together from home, so we have to be here. However, if you're the kind of person who is producing, let's say, news bulletin, I'm talking about, within the context of the media.
I understand.
All right, you're producing a program. You probably can do those from home, or you are an admin staff, or you just do some things around clerical space. You can do all of those from home. Or
Very true.
you're producing content, all right, programs and all of that. All right. However, when you work from home, you also realize that there are people who are on site who need to stay in touch with you. What happens if at the time they need you very critically? That's when you're going to pick dodo from the kitchen. All right? You're
Really?
home. And it happens that your children have a midterm, for example, and they're all home and shouting, daddy, daddy, mommy, mommy, mommy. So how do you do with all of those? It may sound funny, but it's the reality. Because at the end of the day, work as we know it has changed very radically, and if you don't understand that dynamic and the change that comes with it, you become more problem to your organization than you should be a blessing to it.
Exactly. And just to add a few to what you've just said, working for the era of COVID-19, it was an eye-opener,
Right.
that you can actually use the internet and do a lot of things, business meetings. People took advantage of it, a lot of people. But it didn't work for some. That's why businesses and all of that closed down,
Right.
because you have to be present.
It was a learning curve.
It was a learning curve, and that's why the issue of you can actually do things from home,
From
you can
home.
actually meet online and all of that. And at the same time, for those that work, it's very distracting, except if you have an office in your home.
Right.
And how many people have that luxury? So you have to understand that you have to create that balance. And like you said, so for someone that works in a radio house, for instance, you have to have someone on ground that will help you with the synergy,
Right.
with when I mean synergy, of course, the machines and all of that. Because there was a time that I presented a program from home. It was a radio program, but someone had to be on ground to ensure the volume is
midwife the process.
in fact, so it's a very difficult thing. I think being present is more productive because I can actually have a one-on-one interaction with you. We can share ideas at that spot when I need you. Like in your words, where you said going to pick dodo, which is planting from the. You had to mention food. It's too early.
I mean,
come on.
what can I do? It's breakfast time in Africa.
In Africa. But at the same time, I think we should create a balance.
Right, we should.
It's very important. But really, twice in a week, there's no productivity. And I'm sure the workers, they know. But with the circumstance,
how much of choice do they have?
How much of choice? Economic hardship. We, of course, we know what is ongoing. A lot of people will tell you with their 80-something or 100,000 naira in which they earn, they spend about 70-something on transportation. They cannot feed. I was reading some comments, and some people said, they said to themselves, hey, I cannot even go home till weekends. I have to stay because I cannot afford to pay such an amount because I have to move from point A to point B and my house is far. So it's a lot of issues, but hopefully everything will be fine bit by bit.
All right, bit by bit, we'll take it. Let's take another bit from the Daily Trust this morning. Says publish your investigation report. Discharged female soldier tells Army. This story has been very controversial for a while now,
yes,
and it happens that the female soldier, now talking about Ruth Oyedele, has been dismissed from the Army, and we understand the colonel involved has now been acquitted, all right, and exonerated. However, the lady is saying, publish your finding. I'm not disputing it. I'm not saying your findings are not valid or not accurate, but you've got to publish it for the purpose of fairness. But let's see what legal options she has in this direction. We understand the Army has its own modus operandi as well.
Yes, they do.
But we'll see how this eventually pans out. Kekere Eko confirmed that CJN vows not to condone corruption. It's an acid test for the learn silk. Okay, 2009 agreements, salaries. ASU gives FG 14-day ultimatum. Bobrisky, FG probes allegations against prison CG. This story is getting tougher than we thought originally, but then it doesn't stop us from turning to our next paper, First News.
And of course, First News, and I'll be taking us right towards this paper. And beside the nameplate of First News, it says here, Senate confirms Justice Kekere Ekun as Chief Justice of Nigeria, CJN. Congratulations to her, well deserved. And below the nameplate, it says Emir Sanusi's reinstatement most important event in my life. El-Rufai, of course, that was the former governor of Kaduna State. Now, 2 million officers can't secure Nigerian. Lagbaja calls for rethink. And it says money laundering case, Yahya Bello heads to Supreme Court. Small business owners warn CBN rate hike will hurt economy. And this is from the presidency now. It says Tinubu won't mediate in Dangote NNPCL fuel price dispute. And the star story there says Bobrisky bribery scandal explodes. Like you said, this is more than we think. Why do I laugh anytime I read any headlines?
I don't know, maybe like me, you are wondering, at what point did Bobrisky and all the controversies around this phenomenon, as I like to refer to it, became so much of a media sensation, right? To the point that even the CG now, the CG of Nigeria Correctional Service, is in the spotlight.
Exactly.
Under probe, courtesy of the Minister of Interior. Frontline lawyer and human rights, actually talking about Femi Falana, I said, he's also now being dragged to it. In fact, Falana has threatened lawsuit in this regard. It's such a shame. To think that this is someone who was arrested and prosecuted, even jailed for abuse of the naira, the Nigeria currency, which is one of our symbols of pride, is now the one kicking all of these dust for the wrong reasons.
Exactly. So you just wonder, you say to yourself, how did we get here? All right. Moving on now, it says Interior Minister, EFCC, MBA demand independent probes into 15 million naira extortion allegation. And of course, that's the picture there of former Governor El-Rufai and of course Sanusi. And it says former Governor Nasir El-Rufai extends a courteous greeting to reinstate Emir of Kano, Muhammadu Sanusi II, at the Arawa Tech Fest in Kano. And below the first news, it says Tinubu set to reshuffle cabinet based on ministers' performance, and that is from the presidency. And it says ASU issues 14-day ultimatum to federal government, threatens fresh strike. And really, I don't think we're ready for another fresh strike from ASU. Really, kids, the educational system in Nigeria, we keep going back and forth. It's unfortunate that we do not take key interest in that particular sector. A lot of kids who cannot afford to travel outside the shores of Nigeria for a better education. I think we should do more. I think we're not doing more in the educational sector when it comes to tertiary institution and secondary and all of that. I think the government really needs to do more. It's just unfortunate when you see these sort of things. These teachers, they put in their best. Some of them, actually, there's some amazing lecturers. I had some of the best lecturers at the University of Maiduguri who gave who sacrificed a lot just to impact their whatever you were studying at that point. They went all out, and really, I don't think they're demanding for too much.
Right.
I do not think so.
I think.
I don't think so.
As always the case, Jemai, with most of the things we do in this country, even beyond the education sector, it's always been little or no presence of sincerity or purpose.
Yes.
All right, because if government had been sincere, we shouldn't have a problem with all of this. I mean, how do you explain to a child who was 3 in 2015, now 18? I mean, think about that for a second.
Yeah.
A child who was in 2009, a child who was 3 years in 2009 is 18 today, which means all else equal, they are already in their second or third year in the university on the average. That there's an agreement that was reached between the Academic Staff Union of Universities and the federal government of this country 15 years ago that is still a topic of discussion till today, because one of the parties has not, for whatever reason, met their obligation in this regard. It is such a shame that I was 3 years in 2009. I'm 18 in 2024. You're telling me that for 15 whole years, an agreement reached between a union, all right, as reputable as ASU and the entire federal government of Nigeria has not found closure. It's so interesting because we're talking about public university system.
Really? Yes.
So I spoke with someone yesterday, himself a lawyer, and someone who also had gone to university, a federal university in this country, on the desk. And he talked about how that one of the challenges we're having is that we keep saying it's the proliferation of private universities that is negatively impacting our public university system in Nigeria. He said that can be true, at least not in its entirety. He said, look at some of the problems we have had in this country with regards to public university. Are we saying we are going to attribute all of them to the fact that we now have more private universities in the country? I guess what he was saying apparently is government should take responsibility for the kind of university system we want to have in this country. Joma, it will shock you to realize that until a few years ago, Nigerian universities were not even ranked amongst universities in the world.
Very true.
Even now that we started being ranked recently, the question is, how well ranked is the highest ranked university in Nigeria vis-a-vis universities in places like Rwanda, Kenya, and some of these other countries, like South Africa, where we say, well, so let's not even wash our dirty linens in public. But the point is, everybody should play their parts, do their bit, and you see how fast Nigeria will move forward.
Yes, and of course, in the educational sector, it's very important, especially when it comes to us. Like I would rightly say, I'm not holding brief for them, but the truth must be told and must be said. I don't think they're asking for too much. It has lingered for too long. Like you said, 18 whole, like it has lingered for too long. Please, we do not want for others who would tell you, oh goodness, I don't want to go. And because of the economic hardship, parents want to get this over and done with. Let it just be. If it's 4 years, a child is going to be in university, let it be 4 years. This going back and forth, it's not encouraging at all. And that's why you see a lot of jackpot. When not just individuals who want a better means of livelihood, for better education, because you know that it will stand all out when you go.
Mental health as well.
Mental health, because the environment is conducive. There's nothing like going on strike when you go overseas, to school. And then the thing is, it holds more worth when you go overseas. You go for that educational qualification, and then you come back to Nigeria. It holds more worth, because definitely, if I was to school abroad and you're in Nigeria, it doesn't matter, because I've touched the shores of that country. They will pick me first over you, and that is the truth. So I think we need a lot. We have a lot to do when it comes to the educational sector. I think also they're not asking for too much. Please, let's just get this over and done with. Please, it has lingered for too long, and it's affecting the children.
It is.
We keep forgetting that it's not the ASU members alone. The children, the individuals who are in these universities are being affected, and some of them cannot afford to go to the private university, and that's why you see a lot of parents prefer to go into the private university. Why? There's no strike. When you're on strike, if other universities are on strike, they don't even care. They still go on with academic sessions.
That's right.
So that is why. So don't put the blame on the private universities. They are doing well on their own. So please, let's fix what we have. It's very important.
Well, what's that? I don't know. I get emotional every time we talk about the 2009 agreements, because I remember that strike that eventually led to that agreement shut down public university in this country for between 8 and 9 months.
Yes, it
that was
did.
essentially one academic calendar.
And then,
all right.
And then a lot of things happened during that period for some individuals. Some got pregnant, some couldn't go back to school. A lot of cases you heard.
Some had to make the most of that period by going to learn a skill.
Exactly. And some never returned back to school. That was an opportunity they had at that time.
Keeps their enthusiasm.
No, it did. It did. And because, some that they were lucky enough to get people to sponsor them.
Abroad.
And not even abroad. Like
private university.
Exactly. They couldn't go back, and it's just unfortunate. It's really
But hopefully we move past this as quickly as possible.
Let us move past it quickly. I don't think they're asking for too much. I think the needful should be done with immediate effect. And of course, the next paper is The Guardian. And you'll be taking us to The Guardian, right?
Right. Okay, we begin with the Star story. Says, shake up. 11 ministers, senior official may go as Tinubu reshovels cabinet. Has a picture of some ministers here. But the question is, why do we have the picture of Fashola here? Okay, they're saying that he may emerge, that's according to Guardian projection, as new chief of staff. So you're wondering what happens to Right Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, the incumbent chief of staff to the president. Well, that's why you have to read up this big story, which is on the front page of today's issue of the Guardian newspaper. It's going to be an interesting conversation going forward because the president seems bent on making this happen. All right, but let's bring you other stories as well from the front page of the Guardian this morning. Courts restrains PDP governors and WC BOT orders from dissolving pro-Wike ESCOs in Rivers. The PDP fight never ends, does it? Disclose details of investigation. Dismissed female soldier challenges army. That story is replicated across major newspapers today. Of course, it's flooding the entire internet as well with a picture of the ex-soldier. Bobrisky, FG orders probe of bribery scandal in NCOS EFCC. All right, then we'll take it down a little further. After confirmation by Senate, CJN vows to sanitize judiciary. I'm sure that will require a lot of sanitizer to do. Bello claims vendetta as EFCC slams 110 billion in fresh fraud charges.
Wow.
It used to be 80.2 billion, but it has been increased a notch.
What's going on?
110 billion. I think they've reviewed the charges. They've expanded his charge sheets.
Okay.
All right. Maybe new discoveries too, new facts and findings.
Exactly.
Then lastly, there's a story with a picture of the group chief executive officer of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, Dr. Melekari. He reads, FG denies interference in petrol pump price row. If FG, federal government, needs to intervene at all. Of course, it has to be on the side of Nigerians because they're the ones who are taking the brunt right now as far as this crisis, this fuel price row is concerned. But let's take our next paper before the AM news this morning, and that'll be the Leadership newspaper.
All right, the Leadership newspaper now, and above the nameplate it says Senate confirms Kekere Ekun as CJN. And of course, ASU threatens strike, issues federal government 14-day ultimatum. Now, below the nameplate of the Leadership paper, it says here, telecom operators turn to renewable as monthly energy bill hits 56 billion naira. And the Star story there says CSOs submit electoral reform memo as NAS begins amendment. And you can find that on page 22 once you go out and get the Leadership paper to be more informed on the story. Now, fuel price war. Tinubu won't dabble in Dangote NNPCL feud. And that's from the presidency, and you can get that on page 4. And the writer that says insists PMS regime have been deregulated, and it says Pegasus urges federal government to increase stake in Dangote refinery to 45%. And it says Leadership unveils trustees for Awulu Salisu's education today. You can find that on page 4. Sexual harassment, female soldier demands probe report. And you can find that on page 13. Federal government approved 77,000 as monthly allowance for core members. Expect Tinubu's cabinet reshuffle soon. And you can find that on page 7. Now, looking at this sexual harassment case, this female soldier demands probe report, I think you should just, the necessary actions have been done, has been taken. Just let it go. Let it go. Let's not linger. Let's not go back and forth with this. It's not looking good. Just let it go.
Now, you're talking to the ex-private.
Exactly. I think she should just let it go. Please, this has lingered for a while now. We all know the case, what happened. And it's not just now. And of course, investigations has taken place. But for me, I think the advice for her to just let it go, please, and move on with life. And life has a better...
it's a tough conversation.
It's a very tough conversation, really, because a lot of people said a lot. Well, I spoke to some people yesterday, and they were just sharing their own opinion. And said, really, she had the chances of her even winning this particular case was very slim, really. And some said she has mental instability. Some said a lot of things. I just wish she should just let it go. Enough, really, enough. Just get on with life. Something else. Enough, really. And of course, the next paper is the Nigerian New Direct. I do not know if we can take that or we have to go on a break.
We'll have to go on a break for the news.
Exactly. And then we'll come back on the newspaper review. But up next is the AM News. Stick around. There's still part 2 of the newspaper review. Do not go anywhere. It's Global Morning on Global Television. Stay tuned.
Global Morning is your ultimate destination for engaging political and economic matters. I am Uyi Agmofwebe.
And don't forget to include social discussions. Tune in every weekdays from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. I am Queen Agaba.
For insightful breakfast ideas, business summaries, sports highlights, international and local news perspective, I am Anthony Momodu.
Don't miss the in-depth analysis of current and political issues by the Global Morning team and experts. I am Jumai Manson.
Catch Global Morning here on Global Television. Getting on the action. I am Edikan Michael.
We are
The Global Morning Team.
Business Point on Global Television.
The business world can be dynamic and unpredictable, with headwinds and volatility sometimes becoming an obstacle for players in the business and economy landscape. Watch Business Point on Global Television as Samuel Oji walks you through the twists, turns and curves in bands, stocks and crucial market indices from a global standpoint. Watch Business Point weekdays on Global Television at 11 a.m. West African time. Business Point. This is business. Global Morning is your ultimate destination for engaging political and economic matters. I am Uyi Agmofwebe.
And don't forget to include social discussions. Tune in every weekdays from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. I am Queen Agaba.
For insightful breakfast ideas, business summaries, sports highlights, international and local news perspective, I am Anthony Momodu.
Don't miss the in-depth analysis of current and political issues by the Global Morning team and experts. I am Jumai Manson.
Catch Global Morning here on Global Television. Getting on the action. I am Edikan Michael.
We are
The Global Morning Team.
Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to AM News on Global Television. Coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja, I am Jumai Manson. A quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365 and free to air on Nicomsat. Now the news in full. Nigerian Senate has confirmed Justice Kudirat Kekere Ekun as the substantive Chief Justice of Nigeria. She is the 23rd person to hold this esteemed position and the second female to do so. Justice Kekere Ekun's confirmation followed a request from President Bola Tinubu, who nominated her for the role. Uyi Agbomofwegbe has the details.
The plenary, led by President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, suspended its rules to allow Kekere Ekun answer questions during the confirmation hearing. During the screening process, lawmakers questioned her on various judicial matters.
I will ensure that the code of conduct is fully complied with. I will ensure that there is zero tolerance for corruption.
Kekere Ekun emphasized the importance of maintaining judicial integrity and adhering to ethical standards. She argued that there should be limits on cases reaching the Supreme Court, particularly regarding pre-election matters, stressing that such cases should conclude at the Court of Appeal, while highlighting the need for timely handling of petitions by the National Judicial Council. Justice Kekere Ekun also called for measures to insulate the judiciary from external influences.
I am of the view that many matters should terminate at the Court of Appeal, especially interlocutory appeals. There's also a situation where pre-election matters come all the way to the Supreme Court, whereas in national and state assembly elections, the substantive elections terminate at the Court of Appeal.
Before this appointment, Justice Kekere Ekun had been acting as CJN since August 23, 2024, following Justice Kayode Ariwola's retirement. She has served as a Supreme Court Justice since 2013 and is recognized for her significant contributions to Nigeria's judiciary. Uyi Agmofwebe, reporting for Global Television News.
The new Chief Justice of Nigeria, CJN, Justice Kudirat Kekere Ekun, says there will be zero tolerance for corruption under her watch. Kekere Ekun stated this after the Senate confirmed her as the substantive CJN. Her confirmation followed President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's request in a letter transmitted to the Senate. She had been acting in that capacity since August, equal to the retirement of Justice Olukayode Ariwola, her predecessor. She arrived at the Senate chamber by 12:30 p.m. in company of other Supreme Court and Court of Appeal justices. The screening took after 2 hours as senators engaged her with questions bordering on judicial reforms. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has expressed his readiness to reshuffle his cabinet, and the president has also charged the ministers not to be media shy, but go out to publish the activities of their ministries. Addressing a press conference at the Senate House in Abuja, Bayo Ononuga, special advisor to the president on information and strategy, lamented that so much is being done, but Nigerians are not aware. Over now to Imo State Independent Electoral Commission has issued certificates of return to 27 elected local government chairmen across the state. Chairman of the commission, Charles Ejiogo, says the event in line with the Electoral Act. Imo State correspondent Amarachi Ibe completes the report.
This is Imo State Independent Electoral Commission, ISEC, in Owerri, capital of the state. The Commission's office is filled to the brim as politicians and well-wishers come in their numbers to witness the collection of certificates of return by the elected 27 local government chairmen across the state.
The Commission will formally hand over certificates of return to the council chairman. And what has just happened in Imo State is a concrete demonstration of the will and determination of the people.
Some of the elected chairmen expressed joy.
What are the expectations from the more work, more responsibility, more commitment, and most importantly, to prove and justify the confidence into me.
Political analyst says the occasion is in line with relevant provisions of the law. Recall that Saturday's election witnessed the ruling All Progressive Congress, APC, sweeping the local government areas election by winning the 27 local government areas across the state. Amarachi Ibe, Global TV News.
A Kano State High Court has issued an interim injunction restraining 19 political parties from taking any action to stop the Kano State Independent Electoral Commission from organizing and conducting the upcoming local government elections. The presiding judge, Justice Sanisu Ardoma Aji, delivered the ruling following a motion ex parte filed on September 20th by Kano State Independent Electoral Commission, the plaintiff in the suit. The National Peace Committee, NPC, has announced that it will hold a national stakeholders meeting in Abuja as part of efforts to address the various challenges currently facing the country. A statement signed and issued by both the chairman, former head of state, General Abdulsalami Abubakar, retired, and convener, Bishop Matthew Kuka, said the 2023 general elections were marked by a renewed sense of optimism and desire for change among Nigerians. The Nigerian Army has refuted the allegation of sexual harassment by ex-private Ruth Ogunleye against Colonel Ibrahim Abdul Karim and other personnel of Army Medical Corps, Lagos. The rebuttal was made by the Director of Army Public Relations, Major General Oyema Nwachukwu, while addressing journalists in Abuja. Kike Lomo Okere has the details. The Academic Staff Union of Universities has given the federal government 14-day ultimatum to resolve several lingering issues. ASU is seeking the conclusion of the renegotiation of the 2009 FGN/ASU agreement based on the NIMI Breaks Committee draft agreement of 2021, as well as the release of withheld salaries due to the 2022 strike action. ASU President Emmanuel Osodike, in a statement issued, expressed frustration with the government's lack of commitment and delayed tactics, stating that these actions are fueling crisis in the public university system. Over now to the chairman of the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, Musa Adamu Aliyu San, has described corruption as a cancer that has severely affected the performance of the education sector. He noted that the lower level of education system have been the most impacted. Aliyu, represented by Grace Aga Ibe, made these remarks during a workshop organized by the Anti-Corruption Academy of Nigeria in Abuja. Aliyu attributed corruption in the sector to a lack of transparency and accountability. The Oyo State government has announced the clearing of over 153.11 kilometers of blocked drainages and culverts across major roads in Ibadan as part of efforts to prevent flood disasters during the rainy season. The Commissioner for Environment and Natural Resources, Adib Mojid, disclosed this in a statement by the Commissioner of Information and Orientation, Dotun Oyelade. Nurses in Ondo State have urged the state government to review their salary structure in line with what has been done for other professionals in the health sector, warning that the disparity could lead to disharmony within the system. The nurses under the aegis of the National Association of Nigerian Nurses and Midwives Ondo State Chapter expressed their concerns at the 2024 Ondo Nurses Week Scientific Conference held in Akure, the state capital. The National Emergency Management Agency says 10 communities have been displaced by flood following heavy rains in Shanga local government area of Kebbi. Aliyu Shehu Kabandagi the head of operations of NEMA Sokoto office made this known when he led a joint assessment team to the affected areas. He added that the incident left no fewer than 2,000 people homeless who had no option but to flee to safer areas. The Federal High Court in Abuja adjourned the money laundering case against former Kogi State Governor Yahaya Bello brought by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission until October 30, 2024 for a ruling. Justice Emeka Uwete granted the adjournment following Bello's move to appeal to the Supreme Court, seeking to overturn the arrest warrant issued by the trial court on April 17th. Now, during the hearing, Defense Counsel A.M. Adoyin informed the court that matter of Bello's arraignment, which is under appeal, have been taken to the Supreme Court. You're watching AM News on Global Television, coming to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. When AM News returns, Central Bank of Nigeria threatens sanction against banks failing to dispense cash through automated teller machine. Details of these and more after this break. Please stay with us. You're welcome back, and if you're just tuning in, this is Global Television, bringing you live broadcasts of AM News. Thank you for staying with us. On our business decks now, the federal government may spend about 236 billion naira monthly to subsidize the premium motor spirit popularly called petrol. That is imported through the Nigerian National Petroleum Company and the one that is solely off-taken by NNPC from the Dangote Petroleum Refinery. The President and Chief Executive of Dangote Group, Alhaji Aliko Dangote, called on the federal government to end fuel subsidies completely. The Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria has urged the federal government to increase its shares in the Dangote Petroleum Refinery from the current 7% to at least 45% to enable assurance and energy security. It said this while would ensure further energy assurance and security for the citizens. The value of foreign exchange turnover via the Nigerian Autonomous Foreign Exchange Market increased to 15.74 trillion naira, $9.90 billion in August 2024. This came as the Central Bank of Nigeria revealed that foreign inflow into the country increased to $585 million in the same month. Also, the official markets, the value of the naira dropped to 1,658 naira against the United States dollars from 1,659 sold on Monday, while black market sellers sold at the rate of 1,670. The Central Bank of Nigeria (CBN) has announced plans to penalize banks that do not dispense cash through their automated teller machines (ATMs) as part of its effort to maintain adequate cash circulation. The Apex Bank Governor Yemi Cardoso stated this during a press briefing at the end of the 297th Monetary Policy Committee (NPC) meeting in Abuja. Cardoso emphasized that all deposit money banks must ensure availability of enough cash for withdrawals at all times. He disclosed that the Apex Bank has set up a monitoring system to ensure compliance, stressing that any bank not adhering to these directives will face penalties. The Federal Executive Council approved the Economic Stabilization Bill. These bills, driven by recommendations from the Presidential Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms Committee, chaired by Taiwo Oyedele, marked a critical step in the government's accelerated stability and advancement plan. Over now to our foreign scene, China's top diplomat Wang Yi has pledged to support Iran in safeguarding security against external forces in a meeting with the country's new president in New York. Beijing's foreign ministry, Wang met President Masoud Pezeshkian on the sideline of the annual UN General Assembly. Beijing said, as Israel launched more strikes against Tehran's ally Hezbollah in Lebanon, the top diplomat promised China would always be a trustworthy partner. Still on China, it says it has successfully launched an intercontinental ballistic missile carrying a dummy warhead into the Pacific Ocean. Defense Ministry said the ICBM was launched and it fell into expected sea areas, adding that the test launch was routine and part of its annual training. The type of missile and its flight path remain unclear, but Chinese state media said Beijing had informed countries concerned in advance. Australian Olympic swim coach Dick Kane has died weeks after he was found guilty of raping and sexually abusing 6 female students. Kane, who had been in palliative care of terminal cancer, died on Wednesday morning at the age of 78. Kane was charged with 39 offenses committed against the teenage girls in the 1970s and 1980s. The assault took place at a swimming pool in Sydney, in his home, and in his car. The 6 victims were due to deliver their victim impact statements at the special hearing in December, but this is unlikely to go ahead due to Kane's death. Tropical storm Helen is threatening in the Caribbean as it heads towards Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula. Meteorologists warn Helen could turn into a Category 3 hurricane before hitting the U.S. Gulf Coast in the coming days. The U.S.-based National Hurricane Center says that Helen was expected to pass the northeastern coast of Yucatan in the coming hours and hit Florida late on Thursday local time. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis have declared a state of emergency for almost all the states and countries. In sports now, France World Cup winner Raphael Varane has announced his retirement from football at the age of 31. Former Real Madrid and Manchester United centre-back Varane had joined Italian club Como for this season, but was then excluded from their Serie A squad, having suffered a knee injury in August. Over now to IBB International Golf and Country Club has unveiled plans for the 2024 edition of Independence Cup, a golf tournament organized annually by the club to celebrate Nigeria's independence anniversary. Unveiling the plans at a press conference held at the boardroom of the club, Vice Captain and Chairman of the organizing committee, Chief James Oromosele, said the week-long activity would begin with the cadles and staff competing for trophies and other gifts. 4-time major champion Naomi Osaka says she didn't want to have regrets after confirming that she has teamed up with Serena Williams, renowned former coach Patrick Montecalvo, former world #1 Osaka, now ranked 73, defeated Lucia Bonzetti of Italy 6-3, 6-2 in the first round of the Women's Tennis Association 1000 China Open with a French man in her player's box. The 26-year-old Osaka split from Belgian coach Wayne Fawcett this month as she attempts to return to the form that propelled her to the top of the women's game. Now that's it on AM News, and it came to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. Remember, we are on DSTV channel 365, Star Times channel 276, and free to air on Nicomsat. Kindly follow us across all social media platforms by using at Global TV NG and at the handles now showing on your screen. I am Jumai Manson. Thank you for watching. Good morning.
Global Morning is your ultimate destination for engaging political and economic matters. I am Uyi Agmofwebe.
And don't forget to include social discussions. Tune in every weekdays from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. I am Queen Agaba.
For insightful breakfast ideas, business summaries, sports highlights, international and local news perspective, I am Anthony Momodu.
Don't miss the in-depth analysis of current and political issues by the Global Morning team and experts. I am Jumai Manson.
Catch Global Morning here on Global Television. Getting on the action. I am Edikan Michael.
We are
the Global Morning team.
Business Point on Global Television.
The business world can be dynamic and unpredictable, with headwinds and volatility sometimes becoming an obstacle for players in the business and economy landscape. Watch Business Point on Global Television as Samuel Oji walks you through the twists, turns and curves in bonds, stocks and crucial market indices from a global standpoint. Watch Business Point weekdays on Global Television at 11 a.m. West African time. Business Point. This is business. Global Morning is your ultimate destination for engaging political and economic matters. I am Uyi Agmofrebe.
And don't forget to include social discussions. Tune in every weekdays from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. I am Queen Agaba.
For insightful breakfast ideas, business summaries, sports highlights, international and local news perspective, I am Anthony Momodu.
Don't miss the in-depth analysis of current and political issues by the Global Morning team and experts. I am Jumai Manson.
Catch Global Morning here on Global Television. Getting on the action. I am Edikan Michael.
We are
the Global Morning team.
All right, sir. Thank you, everyone. Let's continue with papers just before we bring you discussion on the program this morning. The next port of call is the Nigerian News Direct. Then the big story here says cabinet reshuffle, Tinubu to rejig cabinet based on ministers' performance. The writer says as pressure mounts for accountability within administration amid delivery scrutiny. Again, the strike looms as ASU issues 14-day ultimatum to FG over withheld salaries. Others. Proposed NIMC bill, FG to tax foreigners earning income in Nigeria. I think that's the way to go. Bobrisky saga, FG orders investigation into bribery scandal in correctional service. Court restrains PDP governors, NWC, others from dissolving pro-Wike exco's in Rivers. Kekere Ekun confirmed as second female CJN, pledges zero tolerance for corruption. Yaya Bello drags EFCC to Supreme Court, ignores appearance again. Okay, time for us to go into all of those details, but let's look at the Daily News Hub now, and Juma has those details.
All right, now on the Daily News Hub, and beside that nameplate, the Daily News Hub, we have FG increases NYSC members' allowance from 33,000 naira to 77,000 naira. And below the nameplate, the star story there says, this quiet among Tinubu's ministers as cabinet reshuffle looms. And the writer, we have three writers there. Assessment report handed over to President before now. List of ministers to be redeployed, sacked, ready. Cabinet reshuffles be based on ministers' performance, says presidency. For me, before I go further, I think if you're a minister and you've been working, like Adelabo, of course, he has been in the papers, of course, making headways and all of that. If you've been working, you have nothing to fear. You have nothing to be concerned about.
Adelabo, that would be Chief Adelabo of Power Ministry.
Yes,
he has
exactly.
also seen a bit of controversy. People have said that he's not an industry-oriented person, and so on and so forth. But you look at someone like Olubunmi Tuji-Ojo, for example, Minister of Interior, that people have said has brought some measurable reforms into the correctional service, into the Nigerian Immigration Service. In terms of immigration, for example, they particularly talk about reforms regarding processing, with, it has to do with passports, turnaround time, innovative ideas and solutions, exactly, and all of that. So that's what we want to see, even in areas like sports, youth development,
exactly.
All right, in health, in education, not just, it's not enough for the Minister of Education to tell Nigerians that you can't write WAEC until you are 18. That sounds pedestrian in light of the issues, the real issues, all right, that are at the core of our education sector. But again, we don't make that call.
No, we don't.
The president is their principal. So let him look at the KPIs he has set for them from the very beginning against what kind of performance they've put up this last 1 year. By the way, it's been 1 year because these were people who were inaugurated on the 1st of August last year.
And the thing is, if you're a minister and you've been working, I think you have nothing to fear.
Right.
If you've made impact in your ministry and you've made that impact that affects us and impacts Nigerians, I don't think you have anything to fear.
Well said.
All right, now at the side of the Daily News Hub, we have ASU gives federal government 14-day ultimatum, warns for imminent strike. Senate confirms Kekere Ekun as substantive CJN. EFCC files fresh charge against Yahaya Bello over alleged 110.4 billion naira fraud. Now on Borno flood, reps reject federal government's proposed 300 billion naira grant for victims. Now, Bobrisky saga, probe your officers before inviting me. Very dark man dares EFCC. Of course, Very dark man has been in the news of late. Bobrisky begged me for 3 million naira to secure VIP prison section files. All right. Now, sexual harassment. Publish investigation outcome. Ex-female soldiers tells Army. Full list all allegations made against U.S. rapper P. Diddy. Of course, you know who P. Diddy is now.
Of course.
Now, YFG can't...
The bad boy, as he calls himself.
The bad boy, yes. And YFG can't intervene in NNPCL Dangote petrol price controversy, and that's the presidency there. And here it says, Bobrisky, federal government probes allegation against prisons, and that's the CG. You have to go out and get the daily news hub to get more information on what is the news that is making round. And over is the Punch, and Uyi will be giving us some very punchy headlines.
I don't have a choice now.
No, you don't.
Right. Okay, let's begin from above the name mast for you. One headline here with a picture of the chairman of the Dangote Group, Aliko Dangote. It says, Dangote refinery marketers plan direct petrol purchase. Now, question is that possible? Because we understand it's the NNPCL that is the off-taker. Well, we'll see how it pans out, especially now that we're hearing there's a reason President Tinubu cannot intervene in this matter. What else do we have? Says government miles 30% TED fund allocation for student loan. LG proposes NIN tax for foreigners. And then the big one reads, Cabinet shake-up. Tinubu demands 46 ministers fresh scorecards as lobby begins. And then the writer says, Cabinet rejig will be based on ministers' performance. That's according to presidency. Political bigwigs ministers intensify lobbying. Okay. While we're at it, the interests of Nigerians must be protected. One more do we have. Kekere Ekun warns judges against corruption after Senate confirmation. Bobrisky, minister orders alleged bribery probe. Falana plans suits. Edo poll manned by vote buying delay. Edo poll marred by vote buying delay. That's according to the NBA observers. All right, quite a sad tale there. But let's get some sunny side of life on the Daily Sun today.
I hope we have some sunny information for you. And of course, the Daily Sun, APGA plans to suspend Soludo, others over anti-party activities. And you can find that on page 7 of the Daily Sun. And below the caption, it says, fresh crisis looms in public universities. And the writer there says, as ASU gives FG 14-day ultimatum to implement demands. And the Star story there says, fears grip ministers over cabinet shake-up plan. And we have a writer there. It says, reshuffle will be based on performance, and that's the presidency. And the other writer says, Tinubu directs ministers to promote administration's progress. And below all of that, it says UNGA 79, Nigerian seeks debt forgiveness, Permanent Security Council seat. And you can read up that story on page 26. CJN Kekere Ekun gets Senate's nod, talks tough on corrupt judges in discipline. And you can find that on page 6. 1 dead, 2 missing in Ibadan. Flood residents flee as flood ravages communities in Kebbi. And you can find that on page 4 of the Daily Sun. And it says, Bobrisky now, federal government orders probe into alleged bribery in correctional centers. And you can find that on page 5 of the Daily Sun. Go out and get a copy to be well informed. And next is this day.
Okay, let's look at this day for you quickly. We begin with stories above the name. Place one headline right there for you. Presidency, cabinet reshuffle imminent. Move will be hinged on ministers' performance. With 2 writers there you can look up. EFCC slams fresh 16-count charges against Yahaya Bello at Abuja High Court. 25 observer groups knock Edo Guba poll, object to collation of word LG results. Again, that story has 4 riders as well. Kekere Ekun confirmed as Chief Justice, seeks reform, with 5 riders also accompany that story. Those are the headlines basically from this day newspaper. Let's turn to the Nigerian Tribune.
Okay, above the nameplate of the Nigerian Tribune, Bobrisky says federal government orders thorough investigation into alleged bribery in correctional services. And next says court bars PDP governors NWC booth from dissolved pro-Wike party ESCO in Rivers. And you can find that on page 4 of the Nigerian Tribune. And below that, it says, ASU serves federal government fresh 14-day ultimatum strike notice. And you can find that on page 30. How tension with Lokoja over Olubadan accessions was dealt with. That's Makinde. You can find that on page 3. CBN sold $20,000 in BDCs at 1,590 naira to $1, and you can find that on page 3. And we have a rider there. It says confirms cabinet reshuffle imminent. Says 30% TED fund resources will go to student loan support. Unveils plans to introduce NIN registration for foreigners. And still on the Nigerian Tribune, it says non-policy cases should terminate at appeal court. Federal government increases core members allowance to 77,000 naira. Go out and get your Nigerian Tribune for more information. And next we have the Vanguard, and I think that's
the last paper today. Okay, let's take a look at that for you real quick, everyone. We'll begin with a big story. Panic in 11 states as release of water from Lagdo Dam begins. Of course, there had been advisory in this regard before now. 25 observer groups thumb down Edo election. October 1 protest and bad governance organizers propose a virtual meeting with police. Bobrisky in trouble again for allegedly bribing EFCC officials with 15 million naira. You can find that as well on today's edition of the Vanguard, Vanguard newspaper, I should say. Cabinet rejig to be based on minister's performance, that's presidency. What's more, Tinubu won't interfere in Dangote NNPCL fuel price field. Again, that's presidency. Spare no one who brought shame to Team Nigeria, that's in sports, with regards to Paris Olympics. Of course, Nigeria was embarrassed at that outing, very sadly. A Catholic Church to Tinubu, speak out on fuel price controversy. The silence is not helping, is it? No. FG releases NYC members allowance, raises NYC members allowance by 133% to 77,000 naira. Those are big stories from the Vanguard newspaper for you today. So do well to grab a copy and read the details for yourself so you can stay ahead of the news.
Of course, and of course, that's the end of the newspaper review at about this point. Hope you were well informed. Please go out and get a copy to read more on what is happening. Let's quickly go on a very quick break, and when we return, the first discuss of the day will follow next. It's Global Morning on Global Television. Stick around.
Global Morning is your ultimate destination for engaging political and economic matters. I am Uyi Agmofrebe.
And don't forget to include social discussions. Tune in every weekdays from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. I am Queen Agaba.
For insightful breakfast ideas, business summaries, sports highlights, international and local news perspective, I am Anthony Momodu.
Don't miss the in-depth analysis of current and political issues by the Global Morning team and experts. I am Jumai Manson.
Catch Global Morning here on Global Television. Getting on the action. I am Edikan Michael.
We are
the Global Morning team.
Thank you, everyone, for staying with us here on the program. It's interesting to know that Zamfara has been in the spotlight for the wrong reason for quite a long time. Of course, when you talk about insecurity up north, most people want to talk about the northeast, particularly Borno, Yobe, and Adamawa. But in recent years, we've seen it spread across the entire north, even though we can argue and debate about the scale from state to state. But let's stay with Zamfara for the purpose of our conversation this morning. When we had former governor there, now Minister of State for Defense, Mr. Matawale, it was an issue of what do we do to fix this situation? How do we assuage bandits or curb banditry in our states? And one of the things we saw happen then was negotiating with the leaders of this group, of course, the bandits. Because at that point, it had become the norm that farmers won't be able to access their farmlands until they had paid levies as imposed by these bandits, which was not just a shame, but was embarrassing and was very disappointing. But we understand that at a point, the government, under the immediate past governor, also had to find a way to negotiate with these terrorists. Well, they call them bandits. To say you have to back off, all right, allow the state to enjoy some peace and all of that. And the governor, the former governor, just a few days ago also said that much, that he did that because other states had also told the same path. But how beneficial or otherwise that move was remains to be seen even after the former governor has left office. Now you have Governor Dauda Lawal as the governor of Zamfara State. Not much has changed, if any, regarding the state of security in Zamfara. Some persons have argued and said it is the gold that is being mined that is fueling this crisis, that is encouraging banditry. Well, while that conversation is going on, the incumbent governor, Mr. Lawal, is having his own fight, which some people say is politically motivated with his immediate past predecessor. And he says, look, step down from your office as Minister of State, come defend yourself, clear yourself of the allegations leveled against you because you have a hand in the banditry that we have come to see in our state. The former governor, on the other hand, says that he had sworn by the Quran to say, look, he has nothing to do with the bandits, whether to encourage them, to even give them any kind of support or what have you, beyond honestly having to negotiate with them in the interest of peace so his people in the states can be able to go back to farms and live their normal life. So it's been back and forth. However, as they say, when two elephants fight, we know who suffers. Of course, it has to be the grass. As of today, while we're talking on this program, not many people in Zamfara can boldly, across communities, go to their farms peacefully as they used to do some years ago. My guest this morning is Dr. Steve Okwori. He's the Chief Executive Officer of Stick Mirac Consulting, a security firm where he also doubles as a security strategist. Dr. Steve Okwori, I'd like to say a big thank you to you for coming on the program this morning.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
I was struggling with your last name for a minute, but I'm sure I survived. You and I talked about insecurity in Nigeria here just a couple of months ago, but today Zamfara is basically the focus.
Yeah.
The North has at least 19 states, and people are saying, why Zamfara?
As a matter of fact, there's no state in the North that is free of insecurity issues or challenges. All the states in the North, you see either banditry activities, terrorist activities, kidnapping activities, and all that. But Zamfara has always been in the news in the last 10 years or so. Very prominent about Zamfara when it has to do with security issues. It's so sad that out of the 14 local governments in Zamfara, no one is spared by these bandits.
All 14?
All 14. They have dominated the local government headquarters. Even the state capital, you see banditry activities. Some couple of weeks ago, 2 police officers were killed in Gusau.
The state capital?
Yes. And other officers were adopted. Very close to General Ali Gusau's house. That's to tell you that these guys, they have, it's guts, you know. They dare the government, they dare everybody, you know. You will see that as a retired general, you will see that there should be some military presence in General Gusau's house. But they did all that.
Being a former NSA as well.
Exactly. So, and they did all that close to his house in the state capital. November last year in Maro local government, when the bandits levied the communities to pay 110 million naira as ransom, or levies, so that they can allow them have security protection and have access to their farms. Because these peasant farmers were unable to raise the money, what happened? There was this coordinated attack where over 100 persons from that community, local government were adopted and taken away. And some couple of days ago, I watched the governor, the serving governor on Channels TV. And he said a whole lot of things. I watched him from the beginning of the program to the end. And a governor of a state saying that one of the reasons why they can't fight insecurity in Zamfara is because of lack of political will. That will now should come from who?
The other time he called out the federal government, that the federal government needs to fight insecurity in Zamfara state.
But you see, they keep making this mistake. Fighting insecurity is not for the federal government alone. That's why we have the state government as well, and also the local government.
But the state governors have always said since 1999 that they're just figureheads, that they don't have control over security apparatus.
Okay, but they usually have security council meetings at the state, where commissioners of police and other heads of security agencies are also part of the council meeting.
To brief.
Yes. He's the chief executive officer of the state. The governor said that he knows who these people are, where they live, and when they plan to come out to carry out these attacks. So if you have this information, all this information at his disposal, what else does he want? You know? So what else does he want? He said a whole lot of things, that there's political undertone and all that. I see, we have allowed politics to come into security issues in this country. And I'm sorry to say, the political class have caused a whole lot of damage for this country. Seriously. Because when you see these things, you see that most of them, the political elites are the ones that sponsor, spearhead some of these activities that we see. Reasons because you belong to different political parties. Now, these are political leaders, whether we like it or not, from their state, Zamfara. The fact that they belong to different political platforms, when the roof of Zamfara is falling, it falls on everybody's head, right?
Right.
So, be it the political party that you belong, I think it's high time that these leaders come together, you know, put out your political differences, put them aside, come together and let us see how to fix the insecurity issue in Zamfara. Zamfara is no-go area as we speak. Why must it be like that? Yeah, if one of the problems is because they have natural resources that is being, I saw that the Hausa farmers and Fulani herders are in competition because of the natural resources in Zamfara. Why should it be like that? This is an economic activity that the state is supposed to benefit from, right?
Right.
So why is it causing disarray in the state? Causing a lot of insecurity issues? So I think that the political leaders need to go back to the drawing board and see how to put out their differences and come together and see how to fix the insecurity issues in Zamfara. Rather than benefiting from the economic natural resources that are there, it's causing them a whole lot of damage, destruction, lives of properties. Why should it be like that? The previous governor, or the immediate past governor, had some issues, if you ask me, where he tried negotiating with bandits, but he didn't pay him. This current governor said he won't negotiate with bandits. Of course, I'm in line with him. We are not supposed to negotiate with criminals. We have our laws.
So are we saying those other governors who did negotiate got off on the wrong foot?
How well did he go? He didn't pay. And that's why we have more of these activities, criminal activities in Zamfara. And the other states that even try to see how to negotiate with criminals. What, for goodness sake, why would you want to negotiate with criminals? You have laws that are amended, updated periodically, and those laws are meant for who now? Criminal laws. What are they? They are meant for who? I think It's high time for the state, the federal, and the local government to see how to fight these criminal activities head on. We shouldn't be treating them with kid gloves, saying a whole lot of things and there's no will. There's no will. The will is lacking. It's clear, it's lacking. I was disappointed when I saw the governor talking about no political will to fight insecurity in the state. Why the will is supposed to come from him?
A lot of persons have talked about the mining activities that happen in Zamfara, that those are basically the elements driving this banditry and insecurity. In fact, you mentioned the political class just a while ago, that even the political class who have vested interest in these mining activities also are largely responsible for banditry, insecurity, so that they can create conflict in the state and be able to get away with illegal mining in particular. I recall recently that even the Minister of Solid Minerals Development, Dr. Dele Alake, did tell the National Assembly that there are powerful Nigerians behind illegal mining in this country. I want to ask you this. When you say there are powerful Nigerians, is it political will as a problem with regards to identifying these powerful Nigerians and bringing them to book?
It's a shame. Seriously. It's a shame when we watch or hear people that are saddled with responsibilities of having these things checked, and see that the perpetrators are brought to book. Why should a minister come on national television or on radio or read in the papers that there are some powerful Nigerians that are behind certain activities that are illegal? How does it sound to our ears? So should we continue to remain like this? We've been hearing these times with that number, not now, so many years ago. So at what point or which point will the government will become serious in handling these issues? At what point? We expect that the current government came on the different mantra, all these illegal activities that we are seeing, criminality that we are seeing and all that. It's all contained in their manifesto. So how well are they even implementing the content of their manifesto to fight insecurity? Who are these powerful Nigerians? That you cannot mention names? These powerful Nigerians are beyond the state, and you say you want to get it right as a country? So if you cannot fix when the powerful Nigerians are doing this, is it the foot soldiers? As long as you keep treating the surface of a wound, right? The root cause of that wound, right? If it's not taken care of by antibiotics, you just keep rubbing, what do you call it now? That GV or iodine or something on the surface of the wound. It won't get healed, right? So when you are treating or trying to see how to tackle the foot soldiers that are carrying out instructions from these powerful Nigerians that they cannot mention their names, they cannot take the law to confront them, we'll keep finding ourselves in this mess. And the messier it becomes.
The Zamfara state is very interesting because we understand there's a lot of family activity that happens there. Zamfara, it's also a basket of food in this country, just like you have Benue, for example. Of course, insecurity is also ravaging a place like Benue. Is it possible to ever, at least to some reasonable extent, divorce politics away from issues that are purely security in nature?
You see, when you begin to see it from a perspective that, are we getting it right in this regard? Let me ask, how can you now, in this current situation, want to separate politics from insecurity when the political elites are neck deep in the insecurity issues that we are facing in this country? The same people who cause the issues, the same people are in government that want to fix the issues, and you think that they want to fix the issues at their own detriment? How possible is that? We're talking about, for instance, let me just divert a bit. We're talking about political thuggery, using youths as thugs and all that, and you want politicians that use these thugs, youths as thugs, to carry out their interest, and you expect them when they get into office, they want to put up some laws that will stop them from hiring thugs. How can it work? It can't work. You have every arm of government dominated by politicians. The professionals have been relegated. You see, fighting insecurity is not for the military and the law enforcement agencies alone. We must see that even the political class are involved in fighting insecurity. How well are they carrying the traditional rulers along? How long are they carrying other critical stakeholders along in the fight against insecurity? You can't cause the issues and you want to bring these people on board and see that you want to solve the issues. For instance, in Zamfara, a member of the House of Assembly was caught or arrested by the police with respect to kidnapping activity. A member of a local government chairman was arrested. A traditional ruler was also arrested. All these people with regards to insecurity issues in Zamfara. So the whole thing is just a mess. I don't know how they want to handle the issues, sincerely. Because people that you expect should not be involved in acts of criminality based on the offices that they occupy are caught in the web. So I pity the governor. And for me, the will that the governor is talking about, that will has to come from him. Because he swore by the Quran that he was going to protect lives and property in Zamfara. Right? Is he living up to that expectation? That's the question. He said boldly on TV that they know these people, they know where they are. So if you know them and you know where they are, what's stopping you? What's stopping you?
Let's talk about the military, because you said with emphasis, at least on 2 occasions now, that we can't leave the fight against insecurity, whether it's banditry, insurgency, kidnapping, or what have you, solely to the military to handle. But if we want to talk about the military for a second, does it look like, I mean, from your own perspective as a security pundit, that they have situation-appropriate strategy right now?
You know, these criminal elements, also the fact that they are illiterate, they also have what it takes. And that is why they are always up on their game. Because if they are not up on their game, tell me, how long will it take the military or the police to be able to either kill or arrest the bandit leader in Zamfara, the Bello Turji?
On whose head there's a bounty now?
There's a bounty now. We used to see on social media where they post videos of how they carry out some of these attacks in Zamfara with their faces. Which network are they using? We saw in this country where the Navy SEAL, all the way from the US, came to rescue a US citizen that was kidnapped somewhere in Niger and brought somewhere in Borno State. They came all the way from the US, came, rescued their citizen and took him away. So what technology did they use in doing that? Are we saying that we don't have such technology to be able to pinpoint where these criminals are? We saw in this country the last fasting, that Ramadan fast. Immediately after the Ramadan fast, there was a prayer ground in Zamfara where all the bandits gathered and said their prayers. It was on the social media, the video. They were surrounded with guns and all manner of ammunition at the prayer ground in Zamfara, where they chose to do that prayer after Ramadan fast. And you tell me that our law enforcement agencies, they were not aware of it or what? So what are we saying?
So you're saying the conspiracy is thick?
Very thick. Very, very thick. And I think, for me, it's a sad thing that in a country like Nigeria, we will see this, where our soldiers go out of the shores of this country and they come back with medals of achieving results. Successes, they take them to an unfamiliar terrain, unfamiliar ground, another country entirely, and they come back with success. So why are we finding it difficult to achieve that same success within our own territorial boundary?
So some people have said that if we can discourage ransom payment, we will win this war against insecurity to a very large extent. Is that a realistic argument or debate to have?
I want you to ask those people, if their loved ones are kidnapped and they are in the hands of bandits, or they are in captivity, and the bandits are asking for ransom, won't they go and pay? It's because they are not directly involved. You hear on the phone where your loved one is being beaten mercilessly, and you hear your loved one crying on the phone. Would they want to stay back and not take ransom to the criminal elements and say, please, release our loved ones. They just say those things for saying sake, if you ask me. Why won't we now fix it by seeing that kidnappings don't happen? Rather than concentrating on non-payment of ransom when somebody's loved one is kidnapped. Yes, we can fix it. Not allow kidnapping activities to happen. The country can fix it. So why would we go that way? Rather than saying that to discourage kidnapping activities, ransom should not be paid. If they kidnap their wives or their husbands, would they come to say that payment of ransom, they shouldn't do it because it encourages or emboldens kidnappers to kidnap people? They shouldn't be caught in that, because I did my PhD thesis on kidnapping for ransom. I listened, I interviewed about 50 victims of kidnapping for ransom. And you know what all of them told me? They told me that they don't wish their enemies to experience what they experienced. Seriously. That's to show you how bad it is. How torturous it is. What they went through. No food, being beaten until monies were given at some point. So there are ways that these things can be fixed. It's not that way that the National Assembly hurriedly criminalized ransom payment. The senator that moved that bill
motion,
if his daughter or son is kidnapped,
what will he do?
What will he do?
All right, we'll find those answers, quite frankly. Dr. Corey, that will be shortly after this break. Please stay with us. Thank you, everyone, for staying with us on the program. So, Dr. Corey, I was going to ask you this real quick, right? We have also heard about cases of disarray, to use your word, by the way, in the ranks of the military, whether it's the Air Force or the Army, even sometimes an organization like the police as well, because they're supposed to work and form a common front against insecurity. How do we also address that to ensure that we are all pursuing the same course?
You see, every security agency has their mandate clearly spelled out. In the event where they need joint operations, the most senior officer in that joint operations commands, and the others follow. Just the way you said, it's a common objective, right? The whole idea is to see that Nigeria is safe. The citizens are protected. That's the whole idea. Properties are also protected. Lives are not being taken away just like chicken by these criminal elements. So, if the objective or the goal is one, to see that all that is in place, why should there be anything like rivalry or ego or one claiming superiority over the other? You know, I don't think we should find ourselves in that situation. You see, there's a whole lot that comes with collaboration. When you collaborate, you succeed. You get results more. You don't have intelligence and you want to keep the intelligence to your own organization or institution, rather than sharing this intelligence to see that you achieve result. You want to keep it. At the end of the day, it's seen that, okay, it's the police that recorded that success, or it's the military that recorded that success. No. It shouldn't be like that. And the heads, the service chiefs, the IGP, and the other heads of security agencies that we have, they know this. But the problem is at the other ranks. So, since they are aware that Collaboration is key. Partnership is key in the fight against insecurity. Whatever instructions that they give or training, it should cascade down to the other ranks. We'll see where soldiers fighting the police to the point that either a police is killed or a soldier is killed. And why should it be like that? With all that we are seeing, it emboldens the criminal elements. It gives them an edge that these people are fighting against themselves. So it means we are winning the war. Why should they be fighting against themselves?
Right.
So the whole lot needs to be done in that regard. That's why I said it takes that formidable force. All these security agencies coming together, and with that we can achieve results. The police, they said they are the lead agency when it has to do with internal security. Yes. Yeah, it's on paper that they are the lead agency. But how are they leading in this current situation that we find ourselves? The police are overwhelmed, so they need the support of these other security agencies to be able to achieve success.
Incidentally, we're hearing now, at least we heard that much yesterday, that the governor of Zamfara State, Dauda Lawal, has reported his predecessor now formally to the National Security Advisor, Mr. Nuhu Ribadu. How much or to what extent does that solve the problem of insecurity in Zamfara State?
I think for me it's embarrassing for such information to be in the news, really. Because these are issues that they can trash without going to or the media knowing about it. The National Security Advisor to the President is the National Security Advisor. There's nothing wrong with calling the governor and the immediate past governor. Even the previous ones, Yari and Shinkafi,
Yarima.
all of them, because these are leaders in the state. Have a meeting with them. That's what I said in one of my remarks. They should drop their political differences and look at how the issues in Zamfara is tackled head on. So I think for me that's the way to go. The Security Advisor has a whole lot of work to do, considering the issues that we are seeing in the country at the moment. He has a whole lot of work to do. Why not call these people, summon them to your office? Because we're talking about lives of innocent Nigerians that expect that the government should provide their security. They are there paying levies, and the levies that they pay is not a guarantee that they won't come ask for more, right? So how long will they keep doing that? It's not a failure on the part of the government. If we keep saying all this, you pay for your security, you pay for you to have access to your farm, you pay for you to go and farm for these bandits, all happening in one Nigeria that we have.
I understand you are not a lawyer, but there was a time in this country, not so long ago, when we had former President Muhammadu Buhari, and of course there was Abubakar Malami SAN as Attorney General of the Federation. Yes. We did hear that there were some sponsors of banditry and insurgency in this country. At a point, a number was put to it, somewhere around 400 of them. Then the debate now became whether or not they should be tried in an open court or secretly away from cameras and what have you. Of course, that government is now history, so to speak. To what extent does our inability, or some people say refusal, of governments to prosecute those who sponsor or even directly participate in insecurity in this country hampering our progress?
You see, there's a whole lot that comes with that. Now, how well is our judiciary ready to carry out that tax? Because when you go to the Supreme Court, there are cases in the Supreme Court that will be trashed in the next 10 years, for instance. So if you are trying a criminal matter that has to do with these criminals that we are talking about here, do you want to keep them for that long period of time at the Federal High Court? Because they have lawyers that are defending them.
Right.
In the event where they lose at the first court of what do you call that? The first trial court.
Yes.
And the lawyers decide to appeal the matter, for instance, and they get on an appeal before they now get to Supreme Court. Just imagine how long it will take.
Meanwhile, damage has been done.
Damage has been done. How long did it take the court in Lagos to try Evans, the famous billionaire kidnapper? How long did it take? So, if we have such a number, I think that a government that is serious will try to see how to establish a special court, so that when we see quick dispensation, of these court processes that has to do with these criminals that have been arrested, then we will see that there's progress in what we are talking about. Beyond that, do we have the correctional center that can house these high-profile offenders? Because you can't carry this high-profile. They are bandits, they are terrorists, and these are high-profile criminals. You cannot begin to go and house them in a minimum correctional center. They are meant to be kept in a maximum correctional center. Do we have such facility right now that, okay, these 400 sets, for instance, we have where to go and keep them? As time goes on, you keep trying them, and at the end of the day, when they are found guilty, you sentence them. Do we have such facility? It's another challenge. You can't keep... A whole lot is wrong. We have seen correctional centers built during our colonial masters. The Suleja Correctional Center was built about 110 years ago.
Still in use today.
Same structure. And the capacity was for 250 inmates. And right now we have about 500 or more inmates. Don't forget that the perimeter fence fell when there was this heavy flood.
Right.
So, what are they doing? CGs, ministers of interior, they come and go. Nothing is changing, nothing is improving. And year in, year out, we see budget. What's this budget meant for? So, when we talk about political will, all these are the things that we see that are lacking. See, my brother, governance is not rocket science. They give the impression as if the thing is a difficult task.
But those, politically exposed people always say that it is a very complex space.
It is not. It is not. That's the impression they give. If you lay your priorities right, as a government, as a ministry, as an agency, your priorities are clearly spelled out and they are in tandem from the top to the ministry, to the agency, right? How can we work? It can work. The last Kuje attack, the immediate past Senate president was there. And on national television, he said he's surprised that CCTV camera were not there. Is it not a shame?
So the question is, has that changed between that time and today?
How will I know? And they have committees at the National Assembly on Interior and they carry out oversight.
Covering issues around immigration, prisons, fire service, and the rest.
How effective are they doing that oversight function? These are the questions. Do we have Nigerians that are really patriotic? It's not. You see, when they vie for offices, or aspire for offices, or lobby to get to an office, and you begin to see that things are not changing, there's no improvement. Rather, we are seeing retrogression. We can't have a state like that. They must be prepared for the offices that they lobby or aspire or contest to get into. Seriously. We have bad managers. The managers that we have are not good ones. Seriously. If we had good managers, we won't be saying the same thing over and over again. Everything to fix this country is there in one document or the other. Committees have been set up, recommendations made, and implementation is a problem, sustenance is a problem. Why should we be in that kind of situation?
Let's talk about insecurity. Let's talk about insincerity regarding insecurity, especially as it has to do with the information that comes out from the military authorities. In this same country where you and I live, we heard that a particular leader of insurgents, of the insurgents group, Boko Haram, had died severally. Later, the former government, through Lai Mohammed, former Minister of Information, has said Boko Haram had been technically defeated. These also have implications that are very adverse in nature, don't they?
Absolutely. These are deceptive comments or statements, deceiving the people. When you give me the impression that a Boko Haram leader has been killed, it builds my confidence, right? That if such person has been taken down,
it means we are winning.
It means we are winning, right? And it gives me the hope that something is working. So certain areas or places that I get scared not to go, it begins to boost my confidence that I can embark on such a trip to that area. You know, you kill tomorrow, the same person will see the person to be alive. You kill, announce that the person has been killed, we'll see pictures. Who are you deceiving? For me, these are one of the features of a, I don't want to use failed state or poor governance, but it's one of the features, clearly, sincerely speaking, when you deceive the citizens. Why?
But you know, there's something people call the rub-off effect with regards to Zamfara. They say that it is not even realistic, even within the security architecture or whatever strategy you're adopting, to fix banditry in Zamfara unless you also address banditry and other forms of insecurity in states around the northwest, including Katsina, Kaduna, and even places like Kebbi, for example, because we understand they have even extended to Sokoto. One would have thought, for instance, that Sokoto would be the last place. I mean, the state of the caliphate, where you get to hear anything that has to do with insecurity on a scale that we're now seeing in our lifetime. So how do we address all of that beyond Zamfara, across the northwest belt?
I think there's no regional security outfit in the northwest.
Oh, obviously.
There's no. I think the northwest, northeast, there's some what they call civilian GTF. You see more of the activities in the northeast, Borno, Adamawa, and Yobe.
Yobe, right.
Yeah. Whether we like it or not, they are making an impact because they are supporting the conventional security agents, you know, in the fight against insecurity in the northeast. So, what stops this northwest from coming up with a regional security outfit? Amotekun, whether we like it or not, in the southwest, they are recording successes. You know, the problem I have is that we don't try. We should try something. When we try, the more we see the gaps in our failure. Once the gap is noticed, we can keep improving, you know, to see that we close the gap. So that as long as we keep closing the gap, updating the plan, the security plan, and the standard operating procedures for this regional outfit that they have established, you know, it will go a long way. What's wrong with that? Zamfara, Kebbi, Sokoto, come together, establish a security outfit, you know, so that you arm them, and you must have to arm them. Now, something is wrong with our law. There's the kind of arms that such outfit can bear.
So they're also limited?
Of course. They're limited or restricted to just pump action and the other. They can't carry the kind of sophisticated guns that these criminal elements carry. So something is wrong with our laws. The federal government must see that they improve or update our laws when it has to do with bearing of arms, you know. So to see that these things can be checkmated. The North Central also don't have anything like a regional security. When there were killings in Plateau, they all ran to Plateau to condole with the governor. And I heard them make political statements that as they are coming out of there, they are going to also form a regional security outfit, you know. But that's the way I say it's a political statement. That one is dead and gone. You don't just make this statement because you want to talk. These are people that are seen as leaders, you know, and they've been saddled with these responsibilities constitutionally to provide security for the citizens. So they must live according to their words. They should back their words with action. They should walk the talk. It's not just talking for talking's sake. Because a lot of Nigerians and the states that they govern look up to them.
Right.
But they are more interested in handling political issues rather than handling more serious issues that have to do with lives of citizens that they are there to govern.
Again, politics will be a bit of an interference in this regard, because if you look at a place like, will likely be, if you look at a place like Kano, it has a governor from the NNPP. Then a few other states like Sokoto, Kaduna, Kebbi, Katsina, these guys have governors from the APC. And then, of course, the gentleman in Zamfara is of the PDP stock. Those are elements that are likely going to play out if you were to even tinker with the idea of a regional security framework. But let's deviate a little and turn to the northeast now. I mean, Borno in particular. Of course, there had been flooding there that has ravaged, Adamawa, Maiduguri for a while. We've seen the impacts. We've seen livelihoods washed away. We've seen people lose their lives in dozens. But very troubling within the framework of this discussion is the idea, the news that some inmates had escaped from a prison facility there. How much of risk does that pose for the entire region?
As if I knew you were going to talk about the Borno issue and the inmates that escaped from the correctional center before I started talking about the Suleja issue. But before I respond to this, let me just respond to that, the political difference amongst the
right in the northwest. Right,
they are leaders. They must throw away the differences,
the partisanship.
Exactly. They should focus on protecting their citizens, so that should be the key thing that they should be after, not member of PDP or NNPP. They are citizens of this country, and the people that they govern are also citizens of this country, and of course citizens of their states. Right. Now, the inmates that have escaped from, there are about 200 of them.
And that's some number.
Are you telling me? 200 of them. And they, don't forget that Borno borders Niger and these other countries. You think they are still within the confines of Nigeria? They've gone out of the country. Of course, our borders are porous. Who do you have there to protect the borders? Pictures of these inmates that escaped surfaced on the social media and the news almost 2 weeks after they escaped. So is it the pictures that are coming up now? 2 weeks after, or thereabout, there are pictures that are coming on the media space for someone to begin to look at it and say, oh, it's not our responsibility to go after these people, please. They failed. We have a CG of correctional center that is there. The Kuje break happened. What happened to him? Nothing. He remained. And we're seeing all these things. And unfortunately for us, these guys are within the institution. The CG was not brought from the outside. He walked all through the ranks, right, to get to the level of a CG. So he has the institutional memory of the agency where he is working. He knows where there are issues and challenges. Where there are issues and challenges, we have issues with our perimeter walls. There are issues with our perimeter walls considering how long these walls have been standing.
Around the correctional facilities?
Yes. I just told you about the Suleja one. 110 years.
The Kuje?
No,
the Suleja. 110 years.
Yes.
That must be 1914.
Yes. 110 years, they war, and it just fell. That's to even show you that the white men that built the place, they really built it. Because current war cannot even stand up to 3 or 4 years. For that one to stand for 110, to go down now. We have such walls. The CG of Correctional Center should be seeing that these walls, they are no longer strong enough. Let us do something. You can create that impression that wall that people see from the outside, that old wall, is still the wall that is there. But meanwhile, you can build a new concrete wall.
More like a reinforcement on the inside.
Simple. You don't need rocket science to think like that. So the moment this one falls off,
you even meet a tougher wall.
You meet a tougher one. So they can't think like that. I don't work for the organization, but I am thinking like that. You must have a vision. You don't aspire to become a CG when you don't have a vision for the agency where you are working. Seriously. Now, inmates have gone, about 200 of them. The next thing they will tell you that they have a recapture mechanism or recapturing a framework, that they know how to get these people back. Those people have gone. The one in Suleja, how many of them have they recaptured? We just keep embarrassing ourselves.
Do you have some iota of hope, or maybe I should say trust, in the person of Dr. Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo, the Minister of Interior, with regards to fixing these issues that are very disturbing within the Nigeria Correctional Service?
Yeah, the gentleman, I see that he has a vigor. You know, I watch him on TV. I see certain things that he does and all that. I know that he came to meet that building. They are building 6 correctional centers, modern correctional centers in these 6 geopolitical zones as I speak. I think under his reign now, he should see how to hurry it up, you know, and so that they can become functional before
he leaves office.
But I will give him credit for what he's doing, you know, but as a Nigerian, I expect him to do more, because when I see these things happening, inmates escaping as a result of perimeter fence falling, you know, it doesn't show or tell good of him, because he's the Minister of Interior, right? Yeah. So all these are things that I expect by now he must have been taking records of, you know, to see the other ones are not in good shape and all that, and something quickly should be done about it.
All right, great. So I'd like to say a big thank you to you on behalf of the Global Morning team, Dr. Steve Okwori, for coming on the program today to share with us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, just for the records, Dr. Steve Okwori is the Chief Executive Officer of Stick Mirror Consulting, security firm here in Nigeria. He's also a security expert and consultant. I will take a quick break, everyone. Shortly, Jumai Manson and I will shut the program down for today. Do stay with us.
Global Morning is your ultimate destination for engaging political and economic matters. I am Uyi Agmofwebe.
And don't forget to include social discussions. Tune in every weekdays from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. I am Queen Agaba.
For insightful breakfast ideas, business summaries, sports highlights, international and local news perspective, I am Anthony Momodu.
Don't miss the in-depth analysis of current and political issues by the Global Morning team and experts. I am Jumai Manson.
Catch Global Morning here on Global Television, getting on the action. I am Edikan Michael.
We are
the Global Morning team.
Turns out this is the final lap of the program. Juma and I need to end what we started about 3 hours ago.
Yes, exactly.
You know, I was just talking with Dr. Steve Okwori a while ago. I mean, some of the concerns they raised, they are very disturbing.
Yes,
they also show that as a country, we have not done half, perhaps as much as we should have done. And as they say, there's always a second best time to do something.
Yes,
so I think this is that point where we should all begin to ask ourselves, citizens, governments, and all of the agencies that are responsible for security in this country, to say, what have we not done properly? What have we not done at all? And what can we do now in light of the realities in front of us so that we can move to a better place? I mean,
exactly.
For how long are we going to keep talking about insecurity again and again, and it just becomes an evolving kind of phenomenon.
Yes, it is. And like I mentioned, I said this has lingered far too long.
Mm-hmm.
You know, behind cameras we spoke, and I said, and Zamfara, for goodness sake, Zamfara is a state that is not really. So what is actually going on? If we hear of insecurity that is well hit, we'll talk about places like Maiduguri, talk about places like Sokoto, talk about places like all these other places, Adamawa and so on. But Yobe. But really, Zamfara, it's now so prominent when it comes to terrorism and of course kidnapping and all of that. It's just unfortunate. Generally, insecurity has lingered too long in this country, right from the era of President Goodluck Jonathan until now. We're still facing the same battle, trying to nip it in the bud, that like I always say. But it's just unfortunate that this is where we found ourselves. And I said there are lots of individuals who actually make gain from this. People are behind the scenes,
making it difficult to end.
Of course. Are you kidding me? When they're making lots of money when it comes to insecurity, do you know how much arms cost? Do you know how much it is to send in arms or on the ground, get machineries to actually, you know, it's just unfortunate that many people, individuals, are greedy when it comes to issues like this at the detriment of others. You're not thinking about the country in which you represent. You're not talking about, your patriotism is not even there. You only think about what comes into your pocket. So a lot of people are making this particular issue that we have when it comes to the issue of insecurity, banditry, everything encompassed. When I say insecurity, you mean it's everything from terrorism to banditry to kidnapping, abduction, all of these insurgent groups that we have. So it's just unfortunate that this is where we find ourselves. And like he rightly says, all hands must be on deck when it comes to security agents. You and I, for instance, giving the right info, very important. But it's just unfortunate. We keep going back and forth. We keep hearing that the military has abducted this set of numbers, and then the next thing you know, there's a bomb somewhere. The next thing you know, but how well are all of these things curtailed? You ask yourself, how well are these security agents working back to back? They are, but results is very minimal. It's unfortunate. And lots of soldiers, I will give kudos to the Nigerian army. In fact, all the security agents who have lost
the work that they do,
and the lives in which they have, people have lost their lives. Fathers have been killed by these bandits, and it's unfortunate. Some they'll tell you there are no weapons. Some they'll tell you it was bad. 2013, 2014. I will tell you for free, it was that bad. Now things are beginning to evolve. We're getting better. We're trying to win the war, but we really need to do more.
Yeah, we should. And just on a final note, he also talked about how that because people are not punished, based on the law, it becomes a bit more complicated, an issue to deal with. But it's a conversation that will not end today.
No, it will not. Like you said, this is where we draw the curtain on Global Morning this beautiful Thursday. Hope you had an amazing time with us from 7 till this point. Have an amazing day ahead. I am Jubai Manson, and then my co-host with the glasses.
I'm Uyi Agumofwebe.
Have an amazing day. Bye-bye.
Death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call a police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
We struggled as a strike.
The Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.